So there's a little bit more context, information, some visuals dealing with continental glaciation, even though we're not going into a lot of detail doing activities or doing work based on that information. But it's a pretty different style of glaciation in some ways when you have a huge portion of a continent covered with flowing ice. It bulldozes over things basically and creates a different kind of landscape behind it than if you just have these valleys that are channeling that glacial movement. The second part of what you're doing for the lab is looking at a specific national park. So Glacier National Park in Montana, as you might guess from the title, very much sculpted by glaciers and still has several small glaciers in the park itself that you could visit. So again, there's a bunch of questions you're being asked to think through looking at a topo map of that area, right? So you have this map of Glacier National Park, and it's what you're using to think through some of the details that you're being asked about. So for example, at first, you're just listing some of the features you can see in the landscape. You're going back up to that chart that's laid out for you. You're just thinking through, okay, which of these features do I see in the landscape, right? From the topo map, can I interpret whether or not they're there? And then you're being asked to do a few things like looking at certain places and interpreting how things formed. So Quartz Lake and Middle Quartz Lake, you'll find here, right? So here's Quartz Lake and Middle Quartz Lake. It's very small right here. So those are a couple of features you're being asked to find on the map and then do some interpretation of. And finally, the last part of this one is doing a little bit of calculation of the current size of glaciers, or the size of the glaciers based on the information you have here in this map, and how big those glaciers used to be back in 1850. So the Agassiz Glacier and the Vulture Glacier are the two you're focusing on. Here's the Vulture Glacier down towards the bottom. And here's the Agassiz Glacier up towards the northwest. So those are two of the larger glaciers in Glacier National Park. And you're thinking through a little bit of historical information about how big they used to be, what is the rate of change. And then again, when you get to the second part, the second activity, you're looking at Glacier National Park, and you're using that map to do some interpretation, and then finally to do some calculations of how big would some of these two of the larger glaciers have been, and then how much change have they experienced.